Today, I'm going to be talking to you about the upcoming full moon in Capricorn on the 2nd of January 2021. A clean slate, except for that, which is so not a clean slate. The full new moon in Capricorn is going to be happening on the 2nd of January 2021. Okay, so as you can see, Capricorn is about organization and practicality, and that was just a prominent example to show you what that energy is like. So, the full moon in Capricorn coming up on the 2nd is the first and the last full moon of the entire year of 2022. It is a new moon, and this new moon is happening on January 2nd. Now, when we have a new moon, the sun and the moon are in the same sign, and when that happens, they cancel each other out. When that happens and they align in the sky, then it is a time to go inwards, metaphorically speaking, or, indoors, depending on your circumstances of work at this time. But it's a time for reflection, and it's really a time to set new goals and intentions for what you want to achieve let's say this next coming year, and then the resolutions of all of those things that you did that last year reflect at the end of 2022 coming up, a year from now, down the line, or down the pike, as they say, the pike. So, that's what this new moon is about. I want to do a little shout out to a really, one of the very infamous and famous, really just popular choral composers born on January 2nd, Eric Whitacre. And if you listen to his songs, if you listen to particularly this album, Light and Gold, it's really, really amazing what he did and the quality of his work. The time and the effort and all the dynamics, and all the little, kinks and the chords and how it all flows together in his music, really shows, how serious, and ambitious Capricorn is as a sign, because it doesn't settle for just things being mediocre. It is an all-in sign. So, if you hear his music, he uses cluster chords, which are basically chords, but they're just on steroids. Chords that are basically one set of chords and then another set of chords. And I mean, it's amazing what he has done to put virtual choirs into motion. With so many people from different parts of the world connecting, and all of all of his achievements. And, so this is happening around New Year's Day, so around the time of the new year, time to set forth, new goals and intentions for this upcoming new year. What last year are you going to forego? What are you gonna, what are your goals this year? And it's so important to make the goals manageable and, so that you can achieve them. Like instead of saying, oh, I'm going to meditate daily or as much as possible, I'm just going to do it more. You live and you learn, and we set those in motion, but those New Year's resolutions get put aside and probably left and never really looked back on, maybe until spring. And, if I had my way and if I had my kingdom of the world, New Year's Day would be March 21st, because what is that? Initiating Pioneer Aries energy, a brand new start. That is the time to set forth new goals and intentions for the next upcoming year. So, you make your New Year's resolutions now, and then you set them aside for the winter time when you go inward and when you're more introverted and reflecting with this collective energy of Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. So we're talking very collective things. Aquarius is the humanitarian sign, being open to anyone and everyone, and really valuing hot topics like climate change and just really creating a new world of because it rules the future, rules things, new revelations, new revolutions, new ways of connecting. Like we have technology, we have laptops, we have phones, all of these things in this Aquarian age, which is something that we can tap into with that that openness, open heartedness, and open mindedness for others. But that song, This is the Dawning of the Age of Aquarius? That song was made in the 1960s when there was so much civil unrest and, rebellion and new revolutions, because that is when the long age of Aquarius started. Before too long, Pluto, the sign of transformation and destruction, is going to be moving into the sign of Aquarius. And let's see what happens until, for up until 2024 to 2044. There's going to be huge revolutionary years, and so many things are going to be happening. But anyway, so the new moon, we set prayers. We also pray, that inward energy. You notice that you get to bed easier. It's a great time to, get around the fire or, cuddle in your close little hub with family, sit in your living room, and, it's the time to go in and, uh, to yourself and as I said, do that reflection. Setting new intentions. Now, I want to talk about the supermoon, because the full moon in Gemini, is similar to a supermoon. And what it means with a supermoon is that the moon is at a closer distance to the earth. Wherever that moon is in the sky, it is magnified, pouring on energy, pouring on energy, moon energy. And the moon is soft and quiet and internal with emotions and with sensitivity and all those things. But with the full moon, it's basically, you know, Scorpio emotions and Scorpio sensitivity. You take all these Cancerian things with the new moon, and then you put it with the full moon, particularly in Scorpio, the Taurus Scorpio full moon. And full moons can be intense, and how emotional people can get around that time and all of those emotions and that, wild, crazy energies going on. But the full moon in Scorpio is the most intense. Scorpio is the only sign that stings out of all of the other signs. And it really, is about drama and all these things. And I think it's worth mentioning that the nodes are going to be changing signs coming up next coming year. Or if you're watching this in the coming year, then maybe they would have already changed signs. And they're going to be changing into the signs Taurus and Scorpio, the nodes of the moon. The South Node is the collective past, our karma, where we're coming from, and what we really need to let go of. The North Node is where we're going. And also, I really, really want to make this point where we would naturally want to go towards, where we would want to go towards, how we would feel enlightened and better going towards this. So the South Node in Scorpio, North Node in Taurus, I have this in my chart. The South Node Scorpio is about, really about, very scorpionic things, taboos, things that you wouldn't really talk about, secrets, and, wealth and gaining, because Scorpio also has to do the eighth house, has to do with money, from other people, and it looks at drama, intensity, the real deep, dark parts of human psychology, and really the darker, really the darker sides of life that, a lot of times are hidden. And when Scorpio is very sexual energy, and you can't go into detail about the sign of Scorpio and not acknowledge that there is, sexual. And I'm not talking about this kind of thing that you think, but it's just a more delicious energy of Scorpio. And I mean sexual in a very broad and general sort of way when Taurus rules the throat and Taurus is gentle. Taurus is the earth, the simple. We have Uranus in Taurus as well, which is connecting to the earth, growing plants, connecting to the land energy, getting back to, those simple rituals and rhythms, which are very healing. So things very, very gentle, earthly pleasures like food and warm blankets and people and connecting, with all of that. I was watching videos saying for the Scorpio, not relying on others for your own needs. And Taurus is about your own needs. But I want to kind of steer away from the whole, money making and the job and the businessy aspect of Taurus because Scorpio South Node can feel like, oh, you're alone in this when the earth energy is the connected energy in which says, no, you're not alone. So I think that I support that, explanation of this node placement and not the other, because the other is what we're moving away from. And I think that, and I've seen several videos, and maybe not both of them, but one of them, at least one of them, was filmed in that old paradigm of the earth energy. that was shifted on the 21st of December, that transitional point. Um, you know, so yeah, Jupiter Saturn conjunction air signs now, for the next 200 years time, new paradigm. And yeah, connecting very Aquarian things are going to come into 2030. It'll look very, very different than, where we are right now. And we can see this grassroots up idea. We can see people really um, coming together and realizing that, it's other people that we can turn to and that we need to connect with, that we need to connect with to find it in ourselves, not that isolation of, of what the Scorpio can sometimes have because it's very secretive and all that, but that earth and that gentle sort of um, energy. And how pure is money? How pure is the work and the business and the jobs compared to all of the earthly Taurian things that it has to offer? Not overrated America, and those types of things like that, where the holidays are just something that's aside from the work and all of those things in the mainstream society. So big energy, emotional truths on the full moon, very strong and very intense energy. We have new year, new beginnings. Jupiter moved into Pisces. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and also spiritual wisdom. It is the teacher, it is the philosopher, experiencing and gaining a lot of wisdom and, very um, big picture focused and wanting to, really very enlightened and very fiery and all about luck and also, the gifts that you spread on to others, influencing their lives and all of the luck and growth that you can obtain and experience in your life. And Jupiter is an exalted, comfortable placement in Pisces because, it is the ancient ruler of Pisces, especially because of that. Because Pisces is very dreamy and very spiritual and imaginatory and escaping. And, it wants, it has a lot of, it's about empathy, compassion, and also, merging with others and also caring for others. They're very, very, it's very nurturing sign, Pisces. So, I mean, there's so many things going in, and it could possibly be a lot of flooding. Because if you think about Pisces' illusion and it can also be escapism and ungrounded, watery energy, and it can be overwhelming and you can get lost in it. So anyway, so 2022 breaks down to a 6, which is all about relationship harmony. 6 is the family number. So there's going to be more connection, more loving. This would be a great year to focus on your family relationship and really, really healing the aspects that don't work in, say, an area of your family. Great year for doing things with the family, making new memories, new traditions, and, just that, that value, that caring, and that sharing and spending time with them. Also, I also think that another important thing to talk about is on December the 22nd. Mark your calendars. That is the first day of winter. That is the first official day of Capricorn season. Um, and I'm not this, I'm not that. But in pagan times, on December 22nd, they would stop and acknowledge the beginning of a new season and the beginning day of which there would be more light. More light, more, just honoring the changing of the season. So, highlighting December 22nd as opposed to December 21st. December 22nd is really a good day to look out for, not nearly as much as the 25th of December. Um, but celebrating December 21st is an outdated pre-Christian, precursor to Christianity, pagan holiday in which Stonehenge, which is a monument in London, which was a very famous pagan monument, and there's a lot of things with that, and all that happened. That is not now, and that is before Christianity. So anyway, question the narrative if you see an ad for December 21st winter solstice celebration. Question that narrative. Capricorn energy. Capricorn energy. So Capricorn is the sign of the builder. It is the sign of the mountain goat. And we'll look at the mountain goat symbolism a little bit later, but it has to do with things rooted in the earth, things practical, things, that you can, apply with the senses, like what are the tires in the car? What are we having for dinner? How are we going to make money? How are we going to design this? What are the steps to this? What will the results be? Is this worth my time and energy? I mean, all of these types of things. Getting things done, achieving things, um, you know, just, all of those things, climbing that mountain of life. Very traditional rules. Capricorn rules things like governments, businesses, things in power, things very, very traditionally. Um, you know, Saturn is that um, planet of, you know, discipline that really, lays down the foundations and also is restriction and low road of Capricorn is complaining and victimizing. Oh, it's such a hard life. It's such a hard, experience. When really it's, just really having that ownership and really, um, you know, just serving and giving and really being the best and very uh, high on the quality. So, um, working hard and success, quality, being the one to turn to, being the shoulder to lean on if someone needs help or someone, needs something done or, needs help with, some huge thing in life or, whatever. They're very, very loyal to their families and whoever, and I would think that they would expect, similar things in return. Very, very hard and loyal workers. It's a very loyal sign, especially if you put it with Moon and Scorpio. Cardinal energy. Energy is initiating energy. It starts off the season, planting a new seed, coming forth with a new energy of winter, the new year. Leadership, very, very, very strong energy. Um, Laying foundations, this I mean, you're laying the foundations, um, you know, again, a builder of the zodiac. Um, and so there's going to be a cardinal grand cross between Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. These four cardinal signs, remember Aries is cardinal spring, March 21st through April 19th. Cancer is the beginning of summer, June 21st through July 22nd. Libra is September the 22nd through October the 22nd. And Capricorn is December 22nd through January 19th. So, and then January 20th is the cusp. Well, we have Aries, which is, very strong, get up and go fire energy, which, doesn't want to be, told what to do really. The fire starters, they really have that spark to them. And Cancer is the mother, the nurturer, initiating the family, really, really caring and putting his life in with the family, really, connected to their roots and everything like that. Now, in the bottom of the chart, Libra is relationships with others. How are we going to be diplomatic? How are we going to find peaceful solutions? And what is the lighter and more beautiful side of life? And of course, we're talking about Capricorn. So, Sun in Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn, we think very practically and grounded about things, really getting serious about various areas in our lives and what works, and thinking in that sort of way and what we want to put forward. Venus, planet of love or values, relationships, what we're attracted to in Capricorn, all the finest wines and um, all those types of things. And just there's so many things with that. And Pluto in Capricorn, which is changing our governments, you know, and you're seeing in the last degrees of it that shift of all of that until Aquarius. There may be things that are unexpected, new things just change, things that happen. But instead of just being resistant toward the change, welcome it in and take it as an opportunity to grow. And you know, you're provided with this opportunity for a good reason to implement this or to look at this and do a certain way, because maybe you never looked at this in this certain way, which would it really be a great benefit for you to look at this certain situation in this certain way. um Life happens, change happens, and that change is for the better. What are you devoted to? What do you want? And what will you do to get it? What are the things that you're, devoted to? What are your goals and all of those types of things? Um, so, really huge things, setting them in motion. There's going to be, we have this new moon, full moon in Cancer, the government and working versus the family, January 17th, which is a, um, you know, personal family day for me. So Capricorns, also are very witty, seeing things for what they truly are because they're realists. Laugh and grow. Um, when something seems to be a challenge or difficult, and, because everybody makes mistakes, you're going to um, make a mistake if something doesn't go according to plan, or, this happens, that happens, then laugh at it because nothing can be perfect. Um, and then finally, the symbolism of Capricorn, which is the goat. climbing up that mountain. Picture the goat climbing up a mountain slowly but surely, one step at a time, persistent, achieving that goal, and never giving up. That is all that I want to say about this new moon. Enjoy it, um, and and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye for